Good morning, everyone. Sir?
Ishta, wait for 10 minutes.
Okay, sir.
We will start the session sharp by 11 o'clock. I'll give a heads up before we start the session.
Okay, sir.
Thank you for joining today's webinar. We'll be starting the session exactly in 2 minutes. Ikshita, good morning. We can start the session. I think all the speakers have joined now.
Okay, sir.
All the speakers have joined. Almas, Umapriya, and myself have joined.
Okay,
And I think we can start the session. Slowly people will start joining. So I have given the host rights to you.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you want to share any screen, you can share. If you want to share the screen, I'll stop sharing.
No, sir.
You are sharing some screen or, okay, you're not sharing some screen.
Not
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, sir. Good morning, everyone. Myself, Ikshita, working as an assistant professor in Sri Shivani College of Pharmacy. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the live and interactive webinar. Firstly, I express my gratitude for our today's speakers, Mr. Mujibuddin, founder and CEO of Clinosol Research, Almas Sayed, senior manager and currently works as a pharma and medical device training lead, and Ms. Uma Priya Garu, co-founder and director of Clinosol Research Private Limited, for accepting our invitation and taking out your precious time to attend. It is a pleasure to have an esteemed gathering of Clinosol research experts with us today. I request Mr. U. Sri Venkatesh, Associate Professor from Sri Shivani College of Pharmacy, to address the gathering.
Yeah, thank you, Ishita. So, good morning, sir. So, good morning, delegates. Good morning, participants. So, myself, Venkatesh, working as assistant professor in the Shivani College of Pharmacy. Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you for inviting, accepting the invitations for webinar, one-day webinar for the exploring the pharmacovigilance, unraveling the latest trends and career pathways, sir. So, thank you for accepting the invitation, sir. So, dear students, this is very useful for the gaining the knowledge about the vigilance, pharmacovigilance, for the latest trends in the career in the future pathway. So, thank you, sir. Once again, thank you. Ikshita will continue.
Thank you, sir. In the next few minutes, we have an exciting lineup of speakers who will share their expertise on topic exploring pharmacovigilance, unraveling latest trends and career pathways. We believe the insights and knowledge shared here will be valuable to each of us. Now, I take privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Almas Sayed, who currently works as a pharma and medical device training lead. Mr. Almas Sayed Garu, he works as a pharma and medical device training lead, and his qualifications are Masters in Business Administration MBA in International Business, Life Sciences Graduate in Microbiology, Diploma in Medical Lab Technology, Diploma in Clinical Research and Regulatory Affairs. He was recognized as a certified trainer by NPTEL. He worked as a lead auditor in QMS, Food Safety and Management System, ISO 22000. He was a certified ICH GCP trainer by TCS. Apart from his qualifications, He has a rich experience in training delivery for clinical research, protocols, safety monitoring, pharmacovigilance, and related regulations for life science associates, investigators, and academies. He has participated as a speaker at multiple pharmacovigilance conferences. He has conducted pharmacovigilance and business communication trainings and workshops for 20 years in various institutes and colleges, including he has conducted pharmacovigilance awareness sessions in several pharmacy colleges as guest speaker and conducted more than 300 training sessions per year. He worked at Tata Consultancy Services as QA specialist and pharmacovigilance trainer. He worked at Cognizant Technology Solutions as pharmacovigilance lead and process trainer. He worked at Impel Pro SCM Solutions as a QA manager. He worked at Tata Consultancy Services as a senior drug safety associate. He worked at Ciro Clinpharm Private Limited as a drug safety executive. And he worked at Vadia Hospital as laboratory technician in pathology department. Now, I am glad to introduce the co-founder and director of Clinosol Research Private Limited, Ms. Uma Priya Garu. Ms. Uma
So,
Priya Garu.
Ikshita, I think we can give the session for Almas. Then during Uma Priya's session, we will introduce Uma Priya.
Okay, sir.
Almas, you can start your session.
Now, I request Mr. Almas Syed Garu to address the gathering.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you,
You
Ikshita,
can
for
share,
that
you can
introduction.
share the screen and we can start the session, Almas.
Yeah. Just sharing my screen. Please let me know once it is visible to everyone.
Yes.
Okay. So once again, good morning, everyone. We are going to talk about pharmacovigilance in a very simple way. I will, use my slides and I'll give you some examples to understand what pharmacovigilance is all about. What are the basic concept? What is the reason why pharmacovigilance is important? What are the different processes or what are the job opportunities also? And what different types of courses that we also provide in pharmacovigilance. So this concept of pharmacovigilance is quite old. Okay, if I give you an example or if I give you a specific year dated back to 1940s, 1960s, right? So there is a history about pharmacovigilance which we are going to discuss. Before that, let me just give you a basic or a simple definition of pharmacovigilance that comes from WHO. It is defined as a science and activities relating to the identification or detection. So it first means that you have to identify about and even assess, understand, and then use all your analysis, your judgment for prevention of adverse event or any other medicine-related problem. So this is the definition, very simple definition of pharmacovigilance. And through the slides, we will see some examples so that you gain a better understanding about this term. Now, pharmacovigilance or this concept is important because we need to first link or understand about the evolution of pharmacovigilance, right? You have heard about clinical trials, you have heard about different phases of clinical trials, okay, and how this concept of drug safety originated. So there is some background to it, there is some history to it. Earlier also there were some trials which were being conducted, okay, however there was no regulation, no compliance, right? It was just some doctor scientists coming together, okay, doing some trial and error, which has led to some kind of disasters. Okay, one great example is of thalidomide tragedy, right? So I'm sure most of you are aware about this drug which was given to pregnant females for morning sickness, during their pregnancy, which actually led to congenital abnormality. They actually gave birth to babies with phocomelia. Okay, in layman's language, you also call it as a seal limb, right? So this created a huge cry over how the drug is being used, its safety, different kind of testing safety on the safety aspect which needs to be done. Similarly, we have a second case which is related to the sulfonamide drug, right? So this in this case also they use this diethylon diethylene glycol, which went wrong, the combination went wrong, and then it actually resulted in, many deaths. There were many kids, many children also, in whom fatal events were being reported. So from these are just few examples. If you actually read or check on Google, there are many other such trials, such research kind of information that you will find. Okay, and you will understand that it was in a very unethical manner how the trials were being conducted, or how the drugs were being tested on human subjects. Okay, so there was a need to bring some kind of regulation, some kind of defined guidelines, and ensure that trials and safety were being handled in a much responsible manner. Now, before we get more into the pharmacovigilance aspect, I would just like to give you a short introduction about the different phases of trials. I'm sure you are aware about it. Okay, so the entire cycle, drug life cycle, you start with the drug discovery development phase. Okay, then you have your preclinical, and then you start with the clinical trial or human study, right? So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, after which you submit the approval for your commercialization, and the drug is in the market. Now, this entire process is, complex if you go with the traditional method, and it takes, at least 10 to 12 years, 15 years. Okay, it requires too much of pumping of money, resources, right? And in each of these steps or each of these processes, it is important that you keep monitoring very, very, cautiously on the safety of the drug. Okay, so there are basically two sides to the phases of the trials, or pre-marketing or pre-authorization phase, and then you have the post-marketing, right? So all your phases, which includes from your preclinical phase 1, 2, 3, becomes a part of your pre-authorization when you are actually conducting the research, right? So during this phase, you look at the safety of the drug, you try testing these drugs, you start with small number of cohort or groups with healthy volunteers in phase 1, and then you proceed with the patients, slowly expanding the number of participants in the group, right? And then you submit all the required necessary details, the report to the regulatory authorities basis the clinical trial that you conducted, and then you seek permission to have the drug commercialized in the market. That's when your post authorization or your post marketing phase begins, right? Now, your pharmacovigilance, or the concept of drug safety, is equally important in both these phases, right? The prior phase, which is your pre-authorization or a pre-marketing, this is used to ensure that you're conducting the trial in a safe way. You are assessing the safety of the drug before it reaches the market. Okay, whereas on the other hand, when you talk about your post-authorization or post-marketing surveillance, it is to ensure that the drug that has come to the market now, okay, it is safe. So that's more into looking into the sustainability, right? So you keep looking at how the drug is performing in the long term. Okay, so that's about your pharmacovigilance. Let us understand more about why pharmacovigilance is important. Okay, now the earlier slide that you saw about the different phases of clinical trials, we know that we are conducting, or we begin with preclinical, and then you have your animal study, right? And basis this data or animal study data, you extrapolate, and then you start with your human trials or clinical trials. However, there are some limitations that we need to bear in mind. Okay, when you're conducting your clinical trials, or when you're conducting your clinical research, it is being conducted in a very stringent environment. It's a controlled environment, right? The number of patients that you select, it is limited. Okay, you have comparatively clean population because there is a huge list of inclusion and the exclusion criteria mentioned in the protocol. Okay, so inclusion is all those criteria which are favorable for the patient to participate in the trial. Exclusion means any criteria, lab result, finding, investigation, okay, usage of drug that will prohibit, okay, the participation of the patient in the trial. Okay, so there are lots of restriction, or it is being done in a very stringent or control environment. The trial duration could be shorter compared to the actual treatment that the patient would be taking, after the patient gets the drug prescribed from the physician. Okay, for example, for a patient who is with hypertension or diabetes, usually the duration of the treatment, it's like they have to take the drug for lifelong, right? Whereas your clinical trial, when the clinical trial is being conducted, it could last for maybe 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, depending upon which phase it is. So compared to the number of years that the patient would actually be using the drug, the trials are shorter in duration. Okay, The conditions in which you are conducting the trial differ, because when we conduct research, there are physicians, there are investigators who are closely monitoring the patient, okay, and they are continuously with the patient to see what's happening, look into the safety aspect. Whereas when the drug is there in the market, okay, the patient may ignore, the patient may have some other medications, the patient may forget to take the medication, so that kind of compliance may not be possible. Also, while we are conducting the research, okay, we are looking for different kind of adverse event. However, some adverse event which could be rare in nature, okay, or which could come down after a certain period of time, it may not always be possible to identify or get these kind of adverse event during the research phase. Okay, so these are few of the limitation of the pre-marketing phase or the research phase that we have to bear in mind, which actually makes the concept or the requirement of pharmacovigilance imperative, very, very important or necessary. The entire process of drug approval, research, and the drug coming out in the market is, dependent on this criteria, the ratio, risk and benefit ratio. Okay, when you conduct your clinical trial and you submit your clinical study report to your regulatory authority or other stakeholders who are looking at the outcome, okay, what we look at is how much is the risk, okay, and what is the benefit or outcome from the study, and what kind of benefit can be anticipated basis the studies which are being conducted. Okay, so the approval for the drugs are given if the benefits are exceeding the risk. Okay, so that is the basic concept basis which your research works out or your review process work in the direction for getting the drugs into the market. Okay, let us understand few concepts which are related to pharmacovigilance and very important for us to understand how the entire process of pharmacovigilance work. Okay, to begin with a very basic concept which is called as an adverse event. Okay, it's like an umbrella term. Okay, as per the definition, it is defined as an untoward medical occurrence in a patient. So the patient or the subject who is receiving the trial drug, okay, administered a pharmaceutical product, and this event may or may not be related to the drug. So it may not necessarily be having a causal relationship with the treatment. Okay, I'll give you a very simple example. Suppose there is a patient who is visiting a site. Okay, the patient has completed informed consent and signing and everything. The patient is coming to the site. It's the second visit, okay, or the third visit. The patient has taken the drug, right? It's like summer and it's hot sun. The patient steps out of the clinic, okay, and the patient suddenly collapses on the road. Right now, in this case, something has happened to the patient. We can consider this as an adverse event. Okay, now because something happened to the patient, it's an untoward or undesirable event, right? So you call this as an adverse event. Further, what is the reason because of which the patient collapsed? Okay, whether the patient became hypoglycemic because he was fasting since morning and he did not have his breakfast, whether that was the reason, or is it because of the drug which was administered and the patient became hypoglycemic, it was an anti-diabetic drug or any other drug which, or the patient simply became blackout, got blackout because of the drug, right? So there could be different reason, and only after looking into the reason you will be able to confirm whether it is a event which was related to the drug or it is an adverse drug reaction. So adverse drug reaction, it is one in which a causal association is suspected between the trial drug and the event, or approved drug and the event. Okay, so when the relationship cannot be overruled, okay, that's when you say that there is a suspect factor, or there is at least a reasonable possibility. So you refer these kind of event as an adverse drug reaction. Okay, so it is very important to understand these very basic concepts in pharmacovigilance. Adverse event, okay, widely it can be described as an event which may or may not be related. There could be a causal relationship, there may not be a relationship. On the other hand, when you talk about an adverse drug reaction, okay, here you have the causal association as suspected between the drug and the event. Okay, when you look at how the equation works, so all events, as I mentioned earlier, it's an umbrella term, broadly classified as an adverse event. Okay, an adverse drug reaction would be a subset. Okay, meaning which all adverse drug reactions are adverse event, but all adverse events are not necessarily adverse drug reactions. So that is the meaning of these definitions. The next one is about serious adverse event. Now, the previous definition that we saw, it was in association, or it was concerning the causal relationship related to the drug, suspected to the drug, or not related to the drug. Okay, serious adverse event primarily we define basis the outcome of the patient, what happened to the patient, right? So an adverse event which is resulting in a death. For example, the patient experienced severe chest pain or angina. Okay, by the time the patient was rushed to ER, an emergency unit, the patient died, right? It was a fatal MI, okay, myocardial infarction. So it resulted in death. What was the outcome? The patient died. Hence, it is a serious adverse event. Okay, similarly, a life-threatening event. Okay, consider the same example. While you were able to rush the patient to the hospital, the patient received the proper treatment and the patient's life was saved. But still, it was a life-threatening event, which means that in an absence of correct medical intervention, the patient could have lost the life, right? Hospitalization, any other event met with an accident, having severe GI hemorrhage, okay, and leading to hospitalization for a period of like 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, whatever. So again, what happened? The patient experienced an event or developed an event which resulted in hospitalization. So that is again a serious adverse event. Okay, other events like any outcome resulting into disability, permanent damage, okay, congenital abnormality, okay, or birth defect or any other medically significant event, okay, these are the criteria which are considered as a serious adverse event. Now, these serious adverse event, in terms of its intensity, it can be mild, it can be moderate, or it can be severe or life-threatening. Okay, so there are different permutation and combination. Okay, we have first understood or defined about an adverse event. Okay, then you learned about an adverse drug reaction where we talk about the suspect. Okay, and then the outcome in terms of what happened to the patient, right? So these criteria which as an outcome defines a serious adverse event. Again, the serious adverse event may be related to the drug, it may not be related to the drug. Okay, so there are different concepts, there are different terminologies according to which we also process the ICSR cases, about which I'm going to talk very shortly. So when you talk about the different types of cases, so how all these adverse events, serious adverse event that we discussed, that we understood here, right, in this slide, how do we capture it? Most of the times when a patient is experiencing an adverse event or all adverse event, usually captured on a CRF, an adverse event which qualifies as a serious adverse event, you make it a reporting form and you submit this to the stakeholder, to the regulatory authority, to the ethics committee. Okay, when we say sources of cases, from where you're receiving these cases, you can receive these cases from an organized database like your clinical trial cases, okay, which are called as solicited cases. On the other hand, you have your unsolicited cases, which could be coming from the market, like your spontaneous cases, your literature cases, from your social media, okay, medical legal cases, etc. So these are the different sources of cases or types of cases broadly classified. There are further classification. Okay, we will not go into that detail. Okay, but just for your understanding, these are the two basic sources or types of cases that you should remember: solicited and unsolicited cases. This is a very important concept about an ICSR. Most of the pharmacovigilance, 70 to 80% of the outsourcing in many CROs or organization, IT, any CRO or small PV unit. This is the widely outsourced activity from pharmacovigilance, which is ICSR case processing. Different types of case processing. Okay, clinical trials, spontaneous, literature, medical legal, etc. Okay, so let us understand what is an ICSR. ICSR stands for Individual Case Safety Report. Individual means it concerns one patient, a single patient. Very important to understand. Okay, Individual Case Safety Report. And this is a document that provides information about what event the patient has experienced. Okay, we are receiving this from different sources. We just saw that from the previous slide. Now, for every ICSR, when you receive this ICSR form or report, it is very important that you check for the validity. Okay, and that criteria is very important, which is defined here. 4 validity criteria or check. Okay, first, it should have at least an identifiable patient. Second, an identifiable reporter. There should be at least one suspect adverse drug reaction and one or more suspect identifiable product. Okay, also called as PERD criteria. Identifiable patient, okay, identifiable reporter, at least one adverse drug reaction and at least one suspect product. So this is the minimal criteria which is required for any ICSR to qualify for reporting purpose to the regulatory authority. Okay, and once again, ICSR, as I have mentioned earlier, this is one of the very, very important activity. And as a fresher, once you pass out from the college, once you complete the required certification courses, okay, and once you are ready to take opportunity or first opportunity in pharmacovigilance unit or team, this is the role or job role that you begin with, ICSR case processing. Okay, this is the entire flow. There are different teams or there are different units or department which handles the entire process of ICSR. It begins with receiving of the case. From where do we receive the case? It comes from the sponsor usually, right? Or with whom, okay, you have that business agreement that, okay, we will be processing so many cases, per week, per month, whatever. So you receive the cases. It could come from fax, from portal, emails, etc. The person who received the case or the team who's processing the case, they will look into the validity check, duplicate check. They will triage the case. Okay, triaging case, looking into the seriousness criteria, whether the event is expected, unexpected, seriousness criteria. Okay, the causal relationship of the drug and the event, right? So you triage the case. Triaging is a process which helps you to prioritize the case. Why prioritization is important, or what is the meaning of prioritization? If you have 10 cases, I am a drug safety officer or a drug safety executive. I have 10 cases for today. How do I decide how many cases I have to process or which cases I have to process first, right? So triaging of cases will help me to decide what is the timeline. Okay, so that step is very important. Then it moves to the second unit or a team where data entry is being done, right? So this is end-to-end data entry, completely taking or extracting the information from the report ICSR form and putting it in different kind of database. RGS, RSG, there could be some kind of customized database like Advent, etc. Okay, so there are structured field, different tabs and option related to patient details, related to the adverse event, capturing the medical history of the patient, concomitant drug, the lab results, okay, writing the narrative, coding of events, and coding of drug names, etc. So this is how complete data entry is being done. Okay, then you have a QC review, a person who will randomly check and ensure that there are no errors in the cases. Medical review, okay, a medical review or a medically qualified doctor, physician, usually MBBS, they look into the causality assessment, if there are any seriousness criteria or any queries that needs to be asked, medical history which is missing. So they look into the the medical intactness of the case. Okay, then it is completed, and then the reporting or submission happens to the regulatory authority. So this is about the overall case process flow. Now this entire process, it is very important to understand few concepts related to day zero, okay, or your initial receive date, because when we are processing the cases, we have, I mentioned about triaging the case or prioritization, right? So this is determined basis what is the day zero, okay, and from this your regulatory clock start date will begin. So that's very, very important concept. Okay, triage I have already mentioned, looking into seriousness, causality, expectedness. Data entry is end-to-end data entry. Medical coding, you have MEDRA, which is a medical dictionary coding, which is used for coding of adverse events. Similarly, for coding the names of the drugs which are reported to you, taken by the patient, either as a clinical trial drug or as a concomitant medication. These are drugs name are coded by WHO dictionary, right? And then you mentioned the narrative of the case, what happened, the sequence of the event. Okay, so you describe that as a story, okay, which is called as a narrative. QC I mentioned. Now, in terms of looking into the quality of the case, it is important that there is some percentage of internal quality check done, and then there is some percentage of external quality check which is done by the sponsor or by the company for whom you are processing these cases. Okay, medical review, we use different kind of scale. Most widely or popularly used Narinio scale, WHO causality scale. Okay, this will help you, or definitely these are steps, very important, crucial step. Okay, and there are many aspects that needs to be decided. Okay, if there is any missing information, all these things are very important. In case of any queries, it is being shared, requested as a follow-up information, and then you ensure that the complete case is being processed. Okay, reporting timeline, like I have mentioned you, it is calculated from your day 0. Usually for cases where it is death and life threatening, you have 7 calendar days. Okay, to ensure that you have completed the case and submitted to the regulatory authority. For other seriousness criteria, you have 15 calendar days. So regulatory compliance is very important. So you have to ensure that the case that you are processing, it is processed within the timeline it is submitted to the regulatory authority. So this is very, very important. Okay. I think that's it. I would like to mention that for each of these processes, especially for ICSR case processing, and each of these steps that I have mentioned about registration, booking, okay, triaging, duplicate search, how we do it, okay, medical coding. Clinosol is conducting a course for pharmacovigilance, okay, where we teach and where we also provide hands-on training to our students, right? So we have mock cases, we have some case scenarios where we present the different types of cases scenarios to the students, which helps them to understand about these concepts and also get that kind of hands-on experience, right? Again, for medra coding, and they get a chance to even practice on how to write the narrative. Okay, so this is in short about pharmacovigilance. Just a quick recap. We spoke about the history of pharmacovigilance, that it started, long time back, but because there was some kind of, non-compliance with respect to standard procedure, with respect to regulatory requirement. Okay, there were some disasters in the past, right? So which served as an eye opener. And then we started becoming more, careful about how trial needs to be conducted. During each of these phases of clinical trials, we have to ensure that the safety of the patient, or the looking into the drug, how the drug is performing, what are the adverse reactions, that is being monitored in a continuous manner, or in a continuous way. And from your pre-authorization and post-authorization phase, both you will be looking into the drug safety. We studied about how during the pre-marketing phase, there are some selected population. However, in the post-marketing phase, which is also like your real world data or real world studies that we say, right? So here you have, a wide population. Okay, usually in your pre-authorization phase, clinical trial is conducted on limited patient. Okay, and hence there is a possibility that some kind of adverse event may not be reported, or it may not be observed. Hence your post-marketing phase for capturing identification of adverse events becomes very, very important. Similarly, there is another event or another concept under pharmacovigilance, which is about signal detection and management. Okay, so this is also which is very important. That you will be learning if you take up, the further or next level of opportunities or role under pharmacovigilance. Okay, and then we discuss about the basic definitions: adverse event, adverse drug reaction, serious adverse event. Okay, the intensity in terms of a serious adverse event, which could be mild, moderate, or life-threatening or severe. Okay, then we saw what is the standard process of reporting the serious adverse event. We use ICSR form. Okay, it is concerning a single patient. Then you have a different workflow where you receive the case, then you do duplicate check, you look into the validity criteria, you process the case or do data entry, then there is medical review, quality check, okay, and then the case is complete in the worklist and submitted for regulatory submission is done. Okay, so this is the process of pharmacovigilance. I'm happy to take if there are any questions. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any questions? Can someone just... Akshata, any questions that, or maybe we can take the questions at the end of the session. That is also fine with me.
We can take at the end of the session, ma'am.
Okay, good enough. So can we proceed to the next session? You can go as per the agenda.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your expertise on the subject. Now, I'm glad to invite co-founder and director of Clinosol Research Private Limited, Ms. Uma Priya Garu. Ms. Uma Priya Garu had a long career in healthcare and clinical research industry. Starting off as a junior research assistant, she had worked her way up the ladder, taking on increasingly challenging roles and eventually becoming a lead in several projects. Each of these projects was a success, as she had implemented various quality control standards to ensure patient safety and efficient clinical process developments. 4 years ago, she co-founded Clinosol Research with Mr. C.S. Mujibuddin, the founder and CEO. She was actively involved in overall process and quality standard implementations, helping Clinosol become India's leading clinical research training and resource consulting organization since its inception. During this time, she was instrumental in helping over 1,000 students achieve their dream careers in the clinical research industry. Over the years, Ms. Uma has been recognized for her achievements as an emerging woman entrepreneur in the skill development industry. Her motivations and support have helped many students come out of low self-esteem and reach their goals with confidence. She has been an inspiration to many and will continue to be for many more years to come. Now I request Ms. Uma Priya Garu to address the gathering.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Ikshita.
Thank you.
I'm sharing my screen. Can you just confirm? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. That was a wonderful start from Almas. Hope you guys have by this time have got some understanding about pharmacovigilance and what happens in each and every stage of the pharmacovigilance process, right? Now we are going to speak about the technologies that have invaded or that have been introduced to the industry, that may be clinical research or the pharmacovigilance, okay, and how they have transformed the way we are processing the safety data and how we are understanding the safety signals and reporting, and how we are taking measures to manage the risk that is arising from the drugs. Okay. So I wanted to skip this slide, but as Almas has already spoken about pharmacovigilance and its entire process, how it happens and what happens in every stage, right? So through pharmacovigilance, we all know that we are monitoring the drug safety and we are managing the adverse events that are arising from the drug that is being either tested during the clinical trial phases or the drug that is being in the market, which is used widely across the globe when it reaches the market. And it is really important for us to know that what kind of adverse events each drug is causing, because during the clinical trials we are testing on only a particular number of population, right? We are not testing on the entire population, or we are not covering the criteria where we have different genetic classifications. We have different lifestyles, different food habits, different drugs that patients might be taking for other medical histories or other health ailments, right? So in this regard, we have now the pharmacovigilance that has started with Almas has spoken about the history that has happened, all the tragedies that have happened, and how the regulations have started implementing the safety of the subjects, right? We have GCP, we have good pharmacovigilance practices, GPVP, we have different regulations, guidelines. Now we have the Indian regulations also with regard to the pharmacovigilance practices, right? Now, when we speak on a wider basis, when we speak pharmacovigilance at the national level, I mean to say the India level as well as the universe level, okay, global level, there is a difference. The way we adopt the technologies are different, right? probably mobile technology might have come in the very early stage in the developed countries, like in 1950s or 60s itself. But the mobile technology to reach to India, it has taken minimum 20 years after that. Okay. Thalidomide tragedy might have happened in 1960s, but the regulations have come in 1968 or 1970s, right? It takes time to, reflect. The reflection will take time. And the very same way, India is growing globally, adopting the technologies, but where we are still behind. I'm not saying that we are, not at all in the race. India is always in the race, but I'm not saying that India is on top. Foreign countries are really on top, when it comes to the safety reporting. India is emerging. India is following new guidelines, new regulations, especially post-pandemic. We have opened our eyes and, we started following new regulations with regard to the drug safety. Right. This is the traditional pharmacovigilance practice. Why I have given this slide is, because I wanted you to understand the difference between what is happening traditionally now and what is changing. Okay. To understand the changes that are happening, you should be knowing what is happening until this time, right? We were manually reporting the adverse events, like, what is manual reporting? You're going to a HCP, you are reporting something, everything is happening on the papers, right? But now we have robust systems where you can, update the database. You can, report your safety concerns over mobile applications, over internet applications, or your websites. Every pharmaceutical company has a toll-free number now. Even PVPA has a toll-free number. You can report all the adverse events to the Pharmacovigilance Program of India, right? You can also gather the data from the safety signals. Being a HCP, you all belong to the HCP community. Some of you are working as interns in the hospitals. The pharmacists are working as interns in the hospitals. Even they can, gather the data from the safety concerns, and they can also report the adverse events to the regulatory authorities or the pharmaceutical companies, right? And with this, what happens is you can, take the measures. You can manage the risk that is arising. All these processes were happening manually at a time when, there were no systems built. Okay. But as the systems have been developed, like Argus, like Aries, now we have so many systems, so many database companies, coming into picture, and they are not just developing the databases, they are also integrating different systems. Okay, the safety signal may come from any source, right? We have different sources of information. As I have mentioned, in social media, someone can report, someone can write in a literature, right? We can also capture data from there. We have different sources, publication data, right? Some health surveys are also happening across the globe, across India, right? All this data can be curated at one place using the systems, and the database companies are integrating all these databases, the mobile health applications, the wearable data, everything together, so that we can access the data and we can process that data. And, with this data, we can manage the risk that is happening at a larger scale. Especially, we are very much concerned about the strong signals, which we call as serious adverse events. Okay. Almas has mentioned in one of our slides that death and life-threatening events are very severe events where we have to report within 7 calendar days, right? To report within 7 calendar days, first you have to collect all the possible information that qualifies that signal, right? So manual process is a very tough process where, it is a time-consuming process where you share the information manually is also a difficult task. Now we have technology arrives, technology that have arrived, and what we are doing globally are the artificial intelligence tools that have been incorporated in the current system. And these tools are really analyzing the larger amounts of data, the safety signals across the globe. They are collecting through the servers, which are very strong enough servers where they can capture any number of data. Generally, if you are purchasing a phone, your phone will be having a certain amount of memory, like 128 GB or, some XYZ GB or 1 TB, right? But these servers are very big servers where they can hold and handle large amounts of data across the globe. Okay. And collecting this kind of data in a server and processing that data and analyzing some, output from that is really important. So you guys as a, pharmacy students or life science students, you are the right people to understand the safety signals. You are the people who can understand the adverse events properly, because you are having the pharmacological knowledge as well as the medical knowledge, right? So the terminologies, the medical terminologies, you know what kind of diseases are there, what kind of indications are there, what are the pharmacological activities of that drug, right? You are the best people to understand whether, if I'm saying that whether this is a valid case or not. You are the right people to judge that whether this is meeting with the validity criteria or not, right? We are collecting all this data and we are validating the case, whether this is a valid case. No, it is having all the elements that, that say that, yes, this is truly an adverse event, and this can be processed further so that we understand that this adverse event is caused by this particular XYZ drug, right? And you predicting something out of it. Now you have analyzed the data and you have identified that this drug is causing these types of events. So going forward, this may post it to, a certain population. Okay. Example, now we have COVID vaccination, right? So many people are saying that, adverse events are happening, like blood clots are happening, right? So many people are seeing blood clots in the brain, some autoimmune conditions are happening. But this is not occurring in every patient or every individual who has taken the vaccine, right? If the person is specifically having some other health ailments already, like, if the person is diabetic, if the person is already hypertensive, hypothyroid, or if the person is already suffering from hypercholesterolemia or heart problems or any other health ailments, then it is going to cause something else in a specific population. So you are going to predict with this data what kind of population are suffering more, and you can give, some information beforehand that, this kind of population have to be careful when they are taking this medication. Okay, you are going to predict based on the data that you have received. By analyzing the data only, you can understand the safety signals properly. And this artificial intelligence technology has been used widely by the global companies, especially. Okay, these days so many companies are using these technologies. But when we speak about the US and, developed countries like UK, Canada, all these systems have been built there very, very well. Okay. And blockchain technology, as we are speaking about the safety data, you will be having the laboratory values, you will be having the safety information of the patient, what is the disease, what is the age of that patient, what are the other conditions that the patient is having. You have this data of a patient which has to be transferred securely, because to analyze this data, we need statistical analysis people, right? They have to access the data. And if someone wants to publish something out of this data, you have to give access to them, right? So when you are transferring the access of this data to some other XYZ person, you have to have a traceability. You have to trace the data to whom you are transferring and what that person is going to do with this data. What kind of, outputs they are bringing out from this data is also important. And blockchain technology is such a technology that ensures that safety transfer is happening and the subject's confidential information is not being compromised at any stage while transferring the data to the other systems, or making access, giving the access to others is not getting compromised at that same point in time. And tamper-proof records, nowadays we see that cyber security is also growing. Cyber attacks, you might have seen hacking happens, right? No company is, secure. Now, you might have seen that even Twitter has been, into this. So much of data has been, been stolen from the servers, the robust servers. They are big companies like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. All these are very, very, such kind of a strong security walls they have. But still, you have seen WhatsApp getting stopped for 1.5 days. Why? Hackers have attacked bank accounts. You are seeing that your data being stolen by someone. You get calls from someone saying that they are offering bank loans, they are offering credit cards, they are offering some XYZ, they are offering jobs. You find such kind of frauds because your information is leaking from somewhere or the other. That may be from anyone. You may be giving your phone number, you may be giving your email ID somewhere, but you have to ensure that you are giving, it is not possible that you don't give your data and you get everything. You have to give your data, but you have to make sure that to whomever you are giving, they are managing the confidentiality of that data. And this is the responsibility of the investigators. This is the responsibility of the regulatory authorities. This is the responsibility of the sponsors or the pharmaceutical companies to ensure that the data that they are collecting from all these systems is safe and secure. And blockchain technology is such a technology that makes sure that your data is tamper-proof. All your records are maintained confidentially and transparently. So when we speak about the Indian pharmacovigilance technologies, we are not up to the mark still. But as I have already mentioned, we are still in the race. We are now adopting the mobile health applications. We have seen the Practo apps, some XYZ apps, which collects your data and they speak about your diseases, what kind of a condition you have. They suggest what kind of a specialist you should be meeting and who are the topmost physicians. You can have an online appointment, you can cancel anytime. They are giving different options, right? Once your disease is being identified by the doctor, even they are also connecting to the labs. You have Apollo 24/7, you have different applications where you can go and get your labs done automatically, and they are consulting you on their own, saying that your reports have come in this way, so you have to, if you go to Apollo 24/7, if you are ordering any laboratory test, if it is abnormal, they themselves will be saying that your laboratory results are abnormal. If you need any medical expertise, these are the physicians available in our pool, you can contact them, we will be fixing your appointment, right? So this kind of technology has come into our Indian market as well, and we are using that. And you have already seen that the pharmacy, right? Pharmacy also has reached to us online. We have 1mg, we have MedPlus, all these companies or all these vendors are also supplying the pharmaceutical products to your home. And remote participation and access. Now we have decentralization. We speak a lot about decentralization. Now any patient can sit at their home and they can take the drug. They can record their own vital signs. They can, if it is a skin disorder, they can take a picture of that and they can upload to that site, that medical record. Then the doctors will be reviewing that and they can be making the decisions based on the color of it, size of it, right? You are using the images as well, and this imaging also is being read by the companies. Now we have certain companies who uses such kind of images also to read, and these images will be fed to the artificial intelligence system, and they will be identifying going forward. Radiologist job is going to be reduced because all this imaging data, the results are being reviewed by the artificial intelligence systems, and they are going to give you the result, actual result of that particular report. And we are also using data analytics tools, of the real-time surveillance studies. Real-time, you have medical surveillance that is happening, right? So all this surveillance data about the drug safety is being collected, and this data will be analyzed. We also have run a analytical survey on patient-centric clinical trials. We have done a survey on HCPs and non-HCPs to say how much patient centricity is there, how many people are aware about patient-centric clinical trials. Okay, we also have run surveys. So many people, academicians are also running such surveys. HCPs also are running some surveys on public, and this data is being captured, and we are bringing some outputs according to the data, saying that out of 100%, 70% of the HCPs knows about patient centricity. In lay person, it is 30%. So how to increase this? If we come to know that what is the result of this analysis of this data collection, okay, only 30% are aware. Now I have to build more programs. Now if you see the government of India has family and health welfare department that is collecting. They are also doing some surveys and they will be publishing the reports. You have to just go and search for the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, what kind of data they are every time posting. When COVID comes, they will be doing some studies and they will be posting that these are the states in which you have these kinds of reports, right? So they will be doing this surveys and they'll be publishing the results as in the form of graphs, charts, and the numbers. How many numbers have been, how many patients have suffered. We have seen, we had apps also developed during COVID time. We were seeing that who is nearby, who is being affected with COVID, how many people are affected in your area. So this is the real-time data that has been captured on spot, and the results have been displayed to all of us so that we can maintain our safety, right? Monitoring the local patterns and trends. Local population is different, as I was discussing. For a particular state, the food is different. For a particular state, the weather is different, right? So all the local patterns that are trends that are happening, you can also observe. And in this particular population, this is more, right? If you see, Africans will be having more kind of a malaria and all such kind of fevers. Even in India, a specific population will be having a specific kind of a disease. So if you collect the local data, you can analyze that this particular state, this disease is more, this is this kind of adverse events are more in this kind of population based on their genetic data, right? So this kind of analytical tools also the pharmaceutical companies are using these days to analyze and to update. Every time you have to update your safety information, the drug labels have to be updated so that everybody gets to know what they are consuming, how they have to consume, and if anything occurs which is unexpected, how they can report, right? And the digital pharmacovigilance integration, I was speaking about, we are integrating a lot of different systems into one platform where we are capturing all the data, and we are maintaining all the data in a server. What kind of data we are integrating are the electronic health records. Once upon a time, we used to carry all the, if you go to a doctor, he'll be writing a prescription, he'll be writing a case sheet, right? Now we have all these case sheets also being entered electronically in a computer system. They are being stored in a computer system. If you go to a little like a corporate kind of a hospital like Apollo, like Care, or like Continental, like bigger hospitals, right? They will be maintaining all the electronic health records. So if you are losing your files, you have kept your file somewhere, you will be getting a hard copy of your file, right? But again, if you are losing your file, somewhere you have forgotten or you have lost it, just with your number, if you say your name or if you say about your age or your gender, they will be searching, what could be your unique registration number. Based on that unique registration number, they will be, again pulling that data, and they'll be saying that this is your report, this is the prescription that you have gotten, and they can again make a file. So keeping the data electronically is always important for the healthcare, professionals, as well as you also. These days, we are also managing, all the PDF records. Whatever report we are getting in a PDF format, right? So if you order online, they will be sending the electronic copy. That may be Vijaya Diagnostics, that may be your Apollo, anyone. If you are giving a sample, they will be sending a soft copy of your report. They are not sending any hard copies these days, because they also will be storing your data in their servers. You can also store your, records in your mobile or in your laptop. What has happened, this month you have taken XYZ reports. In another 3 months, you again have to take, or in again 6 months, you have to take. So that data also you can upload to your, diaries. We have electronic patient diaries where you can enter all this data. You can follow up. You can also set some reminders if you don't remember to take medication, if you don't remember when to get your next labs, all that stuff you can add to your patient diary. Patient diary will be notifying, at that time that it is the time for you again to check your levels. Okay. So such kind of systems have come, and all these systems have been integrated into the pharmacovigilance system, where this data is going into the pharmacovigilance systems for surveillance. And social media monitoring. We are utilizing the social media data for adverse event detection. Someone is reporting on a web application, right? Now I have used the word PVPA of India, right? PVPA of India has a pharmacovigilance program of India has its own website where you can go and report your adverse events. Anybody can go and report over there, right? So someone can post in the newspaper, someone can post in the social media that, after taking this drug, this event has occurred, right? So the researchers are gathering such kind of social media data. Also, they are verifying that this data is really true data. The validity of the data is being checked, especially social media data is, always unstructured. You cannot guarantee that, anybody can post anything in social media. So you have to be very careful when you are dealing with the social media monitoring and social media cases. Okay, the next thing is the centralized data platforms. As I have said that we are maintaining the centralized data where, everybody can go and get data from that particular server. Okay, we are unifying all these systems into one particular server. From that, if you want to get AE information, if you want to get past medical information, if you want to get the drug information, okay, what kind of medications this person has taken, right? So all this information, what has occurred, what adverse events have happened, and how they have been managed. Okay, what counter action that we have taken on that particular event. So all this information you can collect from a centralized server. This will be stored over there. All right. So we are seeing how this analytics is working to understand the safety and how we are presenting our safety information. As I have already mentioned, if we are seeing that the data, the patterns of the data, we are predicting that, we are forecasting what kind of adverse events may happen in a particular kind of a population, and we can give this information to the regulatory authorities, and regulatory authorities will be keeping an eye on the other population also, how it is happening, the trends of it. Okay, the real-time monitoring, I have already discussed about this. We are continuously collecting the patient data, especially when the drug is in the market. Until the drug is there in the market, you have to submit the safety information, because we always have to look for the long-term adverse events. So some drugs may not be giving the adverse events immediately. For a long period use, like 6 years, 7 years also, you may get some adverse events, right? So because of that reason, you have to always monitor in real time what is happening when a person is consuming a drug for long durations. And machine learning models, now how you are feeding your data, right? So machines do not have a brain, we already know that, right? So you have to key in the right information. If you are not giving right inputs to the system, it cannot understand how it should be taking it. If you are giving 100 inputs that this is called adverse event, these terms are called as adverse events, then system will be understanding, okay, this is adverse event. Next time such kind of word if comes, have to understand that this is an adverse event. If you are feeding the drugs, then it will be understanding that, okay, if this kind of words will be coming, then if this kind of words, if I come across, this is a drug. Okay, so this way you have to train the systems, and you are the right people to train the systems. Okay, machine learning models are very popular these days, so that if you have to process huge amount of data, we are speaking about big data, right? If the data is huge, then machine learning is one of the best options, so that it can read the data. Processing speed will be great, so that can be identifying that. But again, you have to key in all the data to the machine to understand, to put all the data together for your review. Okay, so what is the future of pharmacovigilance? As I have said, we are predicting the risk, and with this we can take measures to manage the risk, and wearable device integrations. Now we are using, so many of you might be using the smartwatches, smartphones, right? They are collecting lots of data on us, and lots of physiological data, like your vital signs, if any abnormalities are there in your pulse rate, or your heartbeat, okay, or your body temperature, right? So all these informations will be going to this the central servers of this particular smartwatch application, like if it is Apple phone or Apple Watch. Okay, so the Apple servers will be collecting all these abnormalities or all this data. Okay, and with this, what we can understand is, if a person's heart rate is high for a certain period, he may be more prone to heart disease. If a person's cholesterol levels are high, if a person's sugar levels are high, or if a person's temperature is high, okay, for a certain period of time, this is predicted, this particular disease is predicted, right? So we can bring that out from this data. We can detect the adverse events early, before a patient comes to the hospital saying that I'm suffering with XYZ, right? With this monitoring, you can detect a bit earlier, and you can take measures to manage that risk. So obviously we have to embrace the innovation. We have to learn the new technologies, then only will survive in this industry, because technology is rapidly growing, especially post-pandemic. Regulatory is also supporting the adverse event data collection, data transfer, as well as the way we are reporting the data. So we are having very huge kind of regulatory strength is being there, and they are building policies, new policies to enable that whatever data we are collecting over the internet is valid, and we are only taking the data that that is very much useful for the society. Collaboration and partnerships, obviously, if you're working in pharmacovigilance, it is not that you're only working in pharmacovigilance. You have to connect with different stakeholders. You have to collaborate with the different teams, right? So cross-industry alliances are very much important. You have to connect with different industries so that you can process the data. You have to collect the data from laboratories also, right? So you have to have all these systems into picture where collaboratively we can work with the pharmacists, we can work with the investigators, we can work with the sponsors, we can work with the healthcare professionals, right? The social workers who are working in such kind of a platforms. You can collaborate and you can make partnerships so that you can get most of the data from all these people. And obviously continuous improvement is required. You cannot say that one system is in picture, so it will be run for another 20 years. It won't happen because the world is changing rapidly. The diseases are changing rapidly. The innovations are changing rapidly. So you have to adopt all these improvements. You have to learn constantly. So what is the importance of pharmacovigilance? First is patient safety, right? Through patient safety, you are achieving, adverse event detection very proactively, and you are ensuring the public health, that public health is, going in a right direction by monitoring what kind of events are happening, adverse events are happening. And regulatory compliance, you have to maintain, you have to adhere to the regulatory guidelines so that you are reporting whatever is required, because we collect so much of data, but what you are reporting is very much important. And with this, it really reduces the cost. If you are detecting something early, it obviously reduces the cost of the treatment, right? If patient is able to detect his disease early, obviously what he is going to do, he is going to get the treatment early, so that the cost is reducing for the patient who can get benefited over there. So the call to action message is that you have to adopt the cutting edge technologies that are coming into the industry now, and you have to be proactive. You have to be active enough to understand. You have to research what are the changes that are happening in the industry. Do research, be active in LinkedIn. So many people are posting, right? Attend conferences, attend workshops, learn more, and be proactive in understanding the safety signals, and also report whenever they come across you. Do not think that somebody at some point in time will report. Take that responsibility in your hand. If you are coming across anything, make sure that you can also report. You are reporting the adverse events. And collaborative ecosystem is required, where we have seen that the variables are now collecting the data. Okay, these data that being collected over variables or being collected over social media or internet, these people have to be collaboratively working with the healthcare professionals, like the medical doctors, as well as the pharmaceutical companies and regulators, so that we build an ecosystem where this safety information is passing across every stakeholder, and at the end, it is going to ensure the safety of the public. With this, I stop my session. If you have any questions, please post in your chat box. We'll be taking up at the end of the sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your exceptional presentation and grateful for your valuable contribution. Now, it is an honor to introduce the Director and Founder of Clinosol Research Private Limited, CS Mujibuddin Garu, who is a highly accomplished professional with an impressive educational background. Holding both an MPharm and MSc in clinical research from Manipal University, he has established himself as a leading figure in the clinical research industry. With over 15 years of experience in the field, Mujibuddin has worked in various esteemed organizations such as QPS, Paraxel, Accenture, Oracle, and IQVIA. His extensive knowledge and expertise have allowed him to excel in roles and contribute significantly to the industry. Driven by his passion for teaching, Mujibuddin founded his own organization, Clinosol Research Private Limited. Through Clinosol, he has been able to train and mentor numerous aspiring professionals in different domains of clinical research. His dedication and guidance have resulted in the successful placement of over 1,000 students since 2019, making them skilled and career-ready individuals. In addition to his commitment to education, Mujibuddin actively participates in industry conferences such as Academia Partner. Since 2020, he has been an integral part of conferences such as ISCR, SCTM, and ACRP, where he shares his insights and contributes to the advancement of the field. Under his leadership, Clinosol has achieved remarkable success and recognition. The organization has received 9 prestigious awards, a testament to his commitment to excellence and innovation in the clinical research skill development domain. As a renowned speaker at both national and international academic and industry conferences, he brings a wealth of expertise and knowledge to the stage. With his professional tone of voice, he captivates conference participants, delivering insightful presentations that leave a lasting impact. Now, I request Mr. Mujibuddin Garu to address the gathering.
Thank you. I hope mine is last session, and I'll make sure that my session is a little bit interesting. At least I'll speak some interesting facts, so that I think people are waiting for listening to this session, which is about careers. Definitely, this is going to be one of the eye-opener session for everyone. So I hope my screen is visible, and
Yes,
I'm
sir.
audible, and I'm visible. Thank you. So now my topic is about career opportunities in clinical research and also on clinical data management. So what is exactly this, how we are going to do on clinical research and clinical data management? So overview of clinical research and clinical data management. So this plays a major role because clinical trials started early in 1990s, and now currently we are going into decentralized clinical trials and virtual clinical trials, patient-centric clinical trials. And we want new therapies and new treatments to come into market. So for that purpose, we have to do a lot of clinical trials and clinical testings in order to know the efficacies and the safeties of the new drug molecules. So to evaluate the safety and efficacy, we need to do a lot of rigorous testing in human beings, and that's something which is called as clinical research. And in order to know about the safety and efficacy of the clinical trial drugs, we have to collect so much of data, which is also called as collection of data, validation and cleaning of data, and archiving of data. So the point number 1 is the clinical research is testing of new medications or existing medication for new indications or devices or cosmetic products or vaccines in human beings. So that's about clinical trials. And when we speak that testing of new medications or devices, we have so much of things that there is a sponsor, there is an investigator, there is an IRB, and there is a subject. All these 4 people plays a major role, along with regulatory authority also plays a major role. So now students from pharmacy background are being hired so much in clinical research. There is so much of job opportunity in clinical research, like TMF role or CRC role or a CRA role or a project management role. So once the clinical trial is conducted, subjects are being taken into clinical trials and subjects are being enrolled into trial, and they are conducting the trial in order to know about safety and efficacy. They are collecting huge amount of data from the subjects. And this data goes into the next level, which is called as clinical data management. I think already though so much of discussion has happened for Almaz and also Uma. So that's about data management. So when you collect the data should be valid, clean, clinically fit, and the data integrity and quality of data should be there, and security of clinical trial data should be there. So already the previous speaker spoke so much about technology. So I'll be speaking about what is the key levels and careers. So now what are the different roles you have in clinical research? You have CRC role, CRA role, TMF role, project management role, and also clinical pharmacist role and investigator roles in clinical trials. That's about conduct of clinical trials. And coming back to clinical data management, you have the following roles. The first role is your designer, and then data validation team, query management. The clinical validation team, and then the next team is your medical coding team and archiving team. So this is about clinical data management. After clinical data management, there is one more team which is called a statistical analysis team, who does the statistical analysis and file master files or TMF roles, kind of roles are being done by your statistician teams. And the next role, apart from statistician roles, is medical writing team who develops the CSRs, the clinical study reports. And the last team, which is called as pharmacovigilance, wherein different kinds of roles are there in pharmacovigilance. So now there are roles which are there in clinical trials, CDM, and then SAS, then medical writing, regulatory affairs, then your pharmacovigilance. So this many roles are there. In that particular roles also, there are sub roles which are always available. So these are the roles which are there, which are available. So now these people who can go into clinical trials and data management and pharmacovigilance and SAS and medical writing and regulatory affairs are, you can be a biochemistry or pharmacy graduate or postgraduate or a PharmDs. And you should have a wonderful knowledge on data and data statistical analysis and software knowledge, excellent communications, written and speaking, multitasking, problem solving, and working across the teams, and clinical trial process, regulatory guidelines like ICH guidelines, NDCT rules, and 21 CFRs and HIPAA guidelines and quality assurance procedures has to be having very good knowledge. So now anyone who is interested to go into these roles, so please get ready for this kind of aspects in your roles. So now these are the opportunities of clinical research and data management. So you have the roles in the following companies. The first is you get roles in hospitals. So wherein you can work in hospitals where the subjects are being enrolled into clinical trials and you are collecting the clinical trial data and you are conducting clinical trials as per in compliance with protocol. So that's the first one, which is hospitals or trial sites. The second one is at the sponsors, wherein the sponsors can be a pharmaceutical manufacturers or you can be a biotechnology companies and all those things. We can have this kind of activities. So there is first one, which is clinical trial sites. The second one, which is your pharmaceutical companies or biotechnology companies. And the third one is the CROs, the contract research organizations, wherein all top 5 CROs are in India. It might be IQVIA, it might be Fortria, or it might be LabCorp, or it might be Covance, or it might be Parexel, or it might be a PPD. All the 5 top companies are in India and you can get in jobs into it. Apart from this 3, there is one more organization which hires the clinical research and CDM and pharmacovigilance and medical writing and regulatory affairs and clinical SAS and HUR jobs, which is IT companies. Like name it IT company, which is today's topic, wherein you have the Accenture, Cognizant, and the TCS, all this Wipro, all these companies hire our clinical research professionals. So these are the companies which hire the students. And apart from that, there are SMOs, there are IRBs, and there are academic institutions which hire from the clinical research background. So sites, hospitals, CROs, pharma companies, then you have IRBs, IECs, and IT companies and sites management organization, which is SMO. So we have an opportunity in global environment also, wherein our students are working. I think 10% of students are working all over the world. Some of the students have got placed in Canada, and some of the students are working in US, and some of the students are working in UAE also.
Fast and
Okay. Sorry, guys. So now these are the roles. Already I have explained about it. CRA role, which is monitoring of clinical trial, whether the clinical trial is in compliance with protocol and other documents. The clinical data management, he is responsible for the clinical data manager is responsible for designing and maintaining robust clinical trial data and data management, ensuring the accuracy, integrity, security, and clinical trial data throughout the study life cycle. So the clinical data management user does this all activities wherein they will be able to collect the data, validate the data, clean the data. And there is one more person who is called as clinical trial coordinator, who is also called as managing the day in, day out activities of the clinical trials, including the patient recruitment, scheduling, coordination, and all those activities can be done by your clinical trial coordinators. So there are some other people who are called as data managers who designs and maintains the robust quality of data, data programmers, who is programming specialist who develops the EDC system or database system, data analyst, who is the statistical methods and the visualization techniques who make sure that the trends and patterns are being covered accurately. Trends and patterns are covered accurately by using the data analysis or data analyst. So apart from this, there are other roles which the clinical trials are being conducted. The first one is you have to have ensuring the data integrity. A clinical trial data should have integrity, and it has to be as per regulatory compliance. Like you have to adhere to laws and regulations which are Government of India and US government and Europe government, which is EMEA, US FDA and CDSCO guidelines, adhere to industry standards, accelerating the drug development, making sure that it reaches your market as soon as possible, very quickly. And the trends and advances, already I think Umapriya has spoken so much about it, and we are going to discuss more about this. So one is you have digitalization, which is EDC system is going to come, and the cloud-based systems and streamlining of data is being there, which are more helpful in you. So that's about your digitalization. So AIML also leverages more clinical trials of data, how clinical trials data can be used by AIML or detects anomalies or the abnormalities or abnormal values and predictive analysis, and also giving insights of the futuristic development. So remote monitoring is one more important thing which are coming into market, wherein remotely you can monitor and make sure. So these are the certification programs. We are providing the certification programs, industry certification programs, continual educations also, online and offline trainings we are providing. We are the only organization which has given more than 50 jobs in this year and overall 1,500 jobs for clinical research students. So this is about the certification. What is the requirement for certification? So the salaries, the highest salary in India we have got is 9 lakhs for a PharmD and 7.2 lakhs for a B.Pharm. And for US, we have got nearly 60 lakhs as a fresher, our students have got. And on an average, 4 to 8 lakhs of salary is being given for clinical research, and global opportunities are there in US, Europe, and Japan, and other locations. So there is a huge work-life balance. People enjoy their work from home options, and also there are other job opportunities which you get. So work-life balance is also there, flexibility is there, and industry recognizes the importance for you are providing opportunities. And the challenges, there is a huge competition because everyone wants to go into clinical research, because these are the jobs which are being given for work from home, and these are the jobs which are being given for highest salary paid. So the intense competition is there. If you have certification, if you have wonderful knowledge, if you have good connects, then you can get the jobs, or it's very difficult. Evaluating the industry standards. What are the industry standards we have? So we have that standards also. So up to the latest industry standards and regulations and technologies, and expertise needed. The standardized expertise are needed. Geographic concentration, India is becoming hub, and Bangalore and Mumbai and Delhi and Hyderabad are becoming more hub for conduct of clinical trial or clinical data management or pharmacovigilance. So now how can you develop networking and industry professional network systems? So like this, how we are attending the webinars, you can attend the conferences, workshop, networking sessions, online networking like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm available in Instagram and Facebook and other locations. Mentorship programs like this, collaborative projects like attending the trainings, like Clinosol provides a lot of trainings on clinical research, CDM, pharmacovigilance, medical writing, and regulatory affairs. So we can attend those kind of sessions also to improve our knowledge. And these are the careers, the data collection, cleaning, analysis, and reporting. And also rapid career development is there in CDM or clinical data science. So these are the conclusions. We have continuous growth, super good growth. Clinical research and data management are to be sustained growth in coming years. You will have high income and high salaries. Tech integration, which includes AI/ML, data sciences, digitalization tools, and global demand all over the world. Same regulations, same specialization are being used. Specialization professionals will need to develop expertise to stay updated and attend more of training sessions. So I think with this, I came to an end of my session, but I'm happy to take questions from any of the students. You can put it in chat box or you can put it in YouTube messages. I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Anyone have any questions? You can ask me. I'm available in YouTube. You can ask questions and we can pick it up the answers. I'm open for questions. I hope session was clear. Yeah. So people are saying yes. Any questions you can ask? Akshita, any questions we are getting in the chat box? You can put it. I'll be happy to answer those questions.
Okay, sir.
Uma Priya or Almas, any questions we have got? Can I request Clinosol team to post the feedback link in the YouTube? Can I request anyone to post the feedback link? In the meantime, if I have any questions, we can put it. Okay. Any questions anyone have, you can ask. Almas, can we ask our team to share the feedback form?
Sure, Mujib. We'll do that.
Yeah. Yakshita, any questions anyone have got? You can put it to me. We'll be sending the feedback form.
Okay, sir.
And students have to post the feedback so that we
I
can provide.
think someone has asked some question.
Yeah.
Someone is asking that do we need to know someone in the industry to get jobs?
No, it's not that.
So someone has asked how to get a job in pharmacovigilance.
Basically, everyone who, including me, Almas and Uma, who have joined in clinical research at pharmacovigilance, we've never had any previous background. In my family, no one was pharmacist itself. I was the first pharmacist. I took pharmacy as a career and then I started working on it. So it's not that you need to have any particular person in a that particular company to get this all. So no. How to get a job in pharmacovigilance? Get some certification courses, add your LinkedIn, strong networking, and also applying for the job by career pages and also mails.
Okay. The next question is, which domain has more scope, PV, CDM, or chemical?
Everything has more scope only. CR, CDM, PV, medical writing, HUR, regulatory affairs. Learn as much as you can. Only one will not suffice because multitasking is required now.
All right.
The salaries will depend on company to company, role to role, all those stuff.
Okay. Someone is asking that teaching experience is considered in getting a job in PV.
No. No.
Someone from BDS background is asking what is the starting salary for a CRC or a CDM role for a BDS?
Depends. For each qualification, the salary
BDS.
might differ, but it all depends on the companies and also all those stuff we have to look into it.
Okay, what is the scope for BDS graduates?
Nicely there. So we don't have any student who has done BDS currently. Morning also we have got some openings for BDS.
So understand one thing that BDS people can go into signal detection directly. You have good opportunities in pharmacovigilance. That's all I can see over here.
Okay, Akshita, do we have any thanks notes or something like that? Vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can go ahead.
My appreciation to all those who contributed in making the webinar a success. My heart fills with a lot of respect and gratitude for our distinguished guest speakers, Mujibuddin Garu, Uma Priya Garu, and Alma Sayed Garu for taking the time to join us today and for assisting us in making the webinar a huge success and enlightening us with their commendable talk on the subject and clearing out concepts and enhancing our understanding pertaining to pharmacovigilance. Thank you to every one of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice, wonderful day. Bye-bye.